Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous has marked a long-awaited milestone in the Jurassic franchise, expanding the story beyond the mainline films, creating a truly expanded universe. As with the first 3 seasons, we've been promised the show will appeal to fans of all ages and, of course, actually tell canon stories that fit alongside the films. Save for some missteps in Season 2, they've achieved as much so far, interweaving the campus story of survival on Isla Nublar between the events seen in Jurassic World and its sequel, Fallen Kingdom. Season 4 marks the first time the campers have successfully made it off of Isla Nublar, finally taking our campers away from the guardrails of the films. So how does Season 4 hold up? The last time we saw our campers, they were setting sail, finally escaping from the ill-fated home of Jurassic World. This led to months of debate about where the campers may be heading, as the only other known location with dinosaurs on it is Isla Sorna, Site B. The majority of events in Fallen Kingdom take place 2.5 years after the current point in the timeline of Camp Cretaceous, meaning dinosaurs have not yet escaped onto the mainland. So surely, this means the logical location for our campers would be Isla Sorna, right? Well, not so fast. Since the first trailer of Season 4, we've been told that an all-new location will star front and center, with the tagline, "A new island awaits." While this may be disappointing to the fans who wanted a return to the long-forgotten Isla Sorna, it also holds true in its premise to take the story in new and unexpected directions. The show wastes no time bringing the campers to this all-new location, and the audience is presented a first in the series, discovering what's happening alongside the campers with no additional knowledge. This creates a very fun hook for the series, as you never know what's around the corner, and it certainly throws a lot to discover and process at the viewer. Each season of this show has visually evolved, and Season 4 continues this trend, featuring some of the most visually striking and cinematic shots presented in the show yet. This makes this all-new location more thrilling than ever, truly bringing these moments to life. Likewise, the dynamics between the campers continues to evolve in fun and interesting ways as the season explores new conflict and growth, the biggest of which comes from romantic threads. These elements are introduced almost immediately, adding much needed conflict between the characters, and it makes for some compelling storytelling. Thankfully, this leads to many truly humorous and fun interactions and avoids the many tropes of teen romantic angst just for added drama. This season is also filled with serious and tender moments dealing with concepts such as PTSD, and it's handled really well. The season often doesn't take itself too seriously, but when it does, it pays off. And there is quite an emotional moment in one of the final episodes that will tug at the heartstrings of almost any fan. This show is ultimately about the campers, and their interactions with one another are where it truly shines. However, where this season shines with the campers, it struggles with almost everything else. This season starts strong with the campers exploring the island, thrust into a mysteriously desert-like environment populated by animals such as the saber-toothed cat. The intrigue of what an island with an environment that looks more like Australia is doing off the coast of Costa Rica is soon answered by something even more foreboding. It's man-made, and the environments are artificial. This offers the show a chance to mix up its scenery, showing off a wild variety of biomes while confined to the singular location in the tropical waters. The show finally brings Manticore front and center, alongside new characters of questionable allegiance such as Dr. May Turner and Cash Langford. Dr. Turner is a paleoneurobiologist, and she's been studying the dinosaurs on this island for over a month. Much like Jurassic World Live Tour's emotional study program, Dr. Turner is tasked with understanding the feelings of the dinosaurs, their brain patterns, and their well-being. However, the season does not mention the actual research program from the live tour, which Dr. Kate Walker was conducting with the Troodons. Dr. Turner's character is one of the standouts in the season, although where that story eventually leads is more questionable and dabbles dangerously close to talking to dinosaurs. And this is where the season really begins to fall apart. Gone is its grounding to that of the films, replaced with more over-the-top sci-fi and Saturday morning cartoon tropes. While the camper interactions are well written, everything else suffers, losing sight of what made the early season shine and what makes Jurassic unique. As things progress, the story begins to weirdly resemble that of Jurassic Park Scan Command, a video game with a plot about communicating with dinosaurs, controlling them, and battling them, coupled with over-the-top characters whose motivations and writing are comically unbelievable. This runs particularly rampant with the character of Cash, who is written and performed as an incompetent and unlikable man-child, yet somehow seemingly has crafted and managed the island's most extreme technology by himself. Cash is performed by Haley Joel Osment, an incredibly talented actor who usually brings a lot of fun into the projects he works on, but sadly, the writing and direction he was pushed in is more likely to annoy viewers than captivate them. He definitely understands the assignment and gives it his all, but the character feels quite out of place in this show and even more out of place in the Jurassic universe as a whole. Speaking of the technology, that's another issue of this season. Jurassic's large appeal is how it's meant to feel grounded to our world, despite deviating on a path where it's possible to resurrect dinosaurs and see the repercussions of that. However, this season no longer feels possible in our world or that of the films. Its technology represents nothing we've seen in Jurassic World, which was one of the most financially successful and technologically advanced places on Earth, nor that of Fallen Kingdom, which takes place 3 years later. Rather, the technology begins to feel more like Hunger Games meets Star Wars, with incredibly advanced artificial biomes that frankly defy logic, and not to mention the robots called Brads. You've seen the Brads in the trailers. They're the robo-dogs that slightly reflect that of the Boston Dynamics robotics. Their animations and actions are slightly exaggerated, as are their communicative skills, but they're just within the grounds of reality in this world. However, their more advanced counterparts, the Brad X's, are an absurd shark jump, devoid of any semblance of logic or originality. They're just a weird sci-fi trope to introduce to Jurassic out of left field, with an even worse implementation of how and why they interact with the show. While this season certainly introduces some new ideas to Jurassic and will give the writers props for taking risks, these are certainly not new concepts for the genre itself. It just feels like any other sci-fi, and the story direction and execution feels more like an extreme mid-2000s cartoon trying to jump on trends and not really carving out its own identity. It's worth noting that while we're talking about how this season contrasts against what makes Jurassic, it also simply doesn't make for great animation. The set pieces and interactions often feel unrealistic and contrived, lessening their impact. The main strong point again being the characters, which bring a lot of heart to the series, but not enough to save this season. This finally brings us to the dinosaurs, which are somehow anthropomorphized more than ever in Season 4, while also being devoid of many defining traits and treated more like props for set pieces. It's a weird contradiction and really contrasts how incredibly strong each dinosaur set piece in Season 3 was, with natural behaviors, motivations, and thrilling sequences. Season 4 has its moments with the dinosaurs, however the standouts are mainly within the early episodes with the tyrannosaurs, before the season feels like it jumps track to a whole new world. Finally, that's the other curiosity. While early seasons of the show did their research and were filled with a deep knowledge of the source material, this season feels a little lost in the larger Jurassic World. As many fans noticed, there is a Tyrannosaurus Rex that looks a lot like the male from The Lost World, and likewise there is a second that looks like the female. And the show even goes on to say that these animals were recently captured from Isla Nublar. However, the show then goes on to call them mother and daughter, which is confusing as they're clearly meant to invoke the T-Rex parents we all know and love, and even use the unique colours only males of the species sport. Ultimately, this issue is small fry compared to the larger things at play, but this series has called itself canon and marketed itself like the Star Wars animated shows, promising to have meaningful and canon stories masterfully intertwined with the lore of the films. But this season couldn't be further from that. While this season does try new things, some of those choices seem a bit redundant. The producers stated that they didn't want another season of the kids running through a jungle from dinosaurs, but ultimately that makes up a lot of this season. Replace a handful of dinosaurs with robot dogs, you've got the same elements that made up the first 3 seasons, only less believable. This new island is basically Isla Nublar, only without the name. Most of the dinosaurs are from Sorna, many of the locations are like Sorna, and it somehow exists very near to Isla Nublar. If the island wasn't supposed to be set so close to the island of Jurassic World, then this would be easy enough to understand. But we are supposed to believe that this island existed next to one of the world's largest tourist destinations without a single person knowing about it before or even after this show. At least that's what Fallen Kingdom would imply. We struggle to understand why they didn't just use one of the 5 deaths. While the first 3 seasons of Camp Cretaceous are some of the best Jurassic has had to offer in modern times, perhaps forgetting season 2, the 4th season is so far removed from everything that made those special that it's a little bit worrying. It almost feels like this could be a turning point for the future of Jurassic, and it feels so detached from the stories that it's meant to celebrate. And as the catchphrase once said, if it's not Jurassic Park, it's extinct. Season 4 is a wild ride and is sure to inspire mixed opinions from all ends of the community and even from hardcore Camp Cretaceous fans. However, the dynamics between the characters themselves are a standout in this season, which we expect to be a real positive point among most, if not all, fans. They feel fleshed out and explored more than ever. Despite the issues, this season plays out well. There is a lot of fun to be had, even if it oftentimes feels detached from Jurassic. This season, much like season 2, may divide some of its audience, but one thing's for sure, they took risks and tried new things that, for better or worse, push the franchise in a new direction. We'll have a lot more to say about season 4 once it releases on December 3rd, but we recommend fans go into it with an open mind. This season will likely best appeal to those who digest everything under the Jurassic name, or to its younger audiences, perhaps leaving the more core fans of the franchise wanting something different. When you watch season 4, be sure to come back to this video and leave your own thoughts down below in the comments section. We are certainly excited to hear everybody's opinion on season 4. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more Camp Cretaceous content. Don't forget to check out the Jurassic Outpost store for Jurassic-themed clothing, mugs, masks and more, and check out the video description for discounts with our various partners. As always, head to JurassicOutpost.com for more news and information.